All right, guys, so once again, we got to talk about a woke academic who is saying something that is very, very, very controversial and really points out the double standard and hypocrisy of the left when it comes to free speech. Okay, as again, once again, we have an academic talking about race, saying things that I don't think other people would be allowed to get away with if they were saying it about people that are not white. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that, as there's a serious double standard going on here that I really gotta call out, because college campuses are supposed to be environments where free speech and ideas are supposed to flourish, right? Even if you don't like those ideas, even if you don't like that speech, it's supposed to be able to flourish and be platformed, okay? However, what we're saying is that the right is okay with free speech on college campus, even if they disagree with it. However, the left, they're not okay with free speech on college campus when they don't agree with it, okay? And these stories right here that I'm gonna talk about is a prime example of that. But before I get in there, I just gotta say, with this video right here, it's a little bit tricky, guys, okay? Because this college professor is gonna say some things I'm not necessarily sure YouTube is gonna be okay with, okay? So with that being said, my message to the YouTube moderators is that I am condemning the speech of this professor, right? I am saying I disagree with what this professor is saying. In no way am I endorsing what they're saying. So with that being said, this is why I've recently started to ask you guys to support the channel if you would like to do so because of this, okay? So you can do so by using the links in the description, the Patreon, the PayPal. You can support the merch. You can also get yourself one of these racist mugs, which is a reminder of the 2022 definition of racist according to the left, which is basically anybody that disagrees with the Democrat Party. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this woke University of California, Berkeley professor, Mr. Zeus Leonardo, right, who teaches a course on whiteness. He teaches a whiteness studies course, right? This is what our taxpayer dollars are paying for, by the way, okay? Whiteness studies. This is a grift if I've ever seen one, okay? This is a grift. But anyways, he's teaching this course, and in his course, he is going over and recommending material, books to read to his students that basically argues that white people are born human, and then they're basically bullied into being white later on in life as they grow up. Take a listen.
Finally, that whites learn to be white. That suggestion by Thandika is that whites are not born white. They have to become white. And her suggestion is that white children who were not white originally, they were born human. Little by little, they have to be abused into becoming white humans. And this abuse is sometimes physical, right? Of being physically disciplined into whiteness, such as being bullied into whiteness. That's a phrase I like to use, whiteness as bully. But also it's psychological and cultural. And it becomes with caretakers and guardians, not the least of which, the more important caretakers and guardians are, of course, the white family, parents, etc. But it extends to the white nationhood as a caretaker, the white social system, the white social welfare, the white governance system. They also discipline and abuse white humans into whiteness. That is a very provocative statement. I would totally recommend reading that book.
Guys, this is incredible how this guy with a straight face can say, hey, white people are born human, and then later on in life, they are abused into being white people, okay? They're abused into whiteness, and basically go on to say, yeah, I highly recommend reading that, right? That's a provocative statement. Highly recommend reading it. Again, this is what our taxpayer dollars are paying for. I really don't understand. I really don't understand. But I want you guys to understand the background of these individuals, okay? I mean, this guy has made a career off of this, okay? As he's written some essays about the soul of white folks, the color of supremacy, contracting race, disorienting Western knowledge. His most recent books are Race, Whiteness, and Education, Race Frameworks, Education and Racism, and he's the editor of the Handbook of Cultural Politics and Education. The book that he's recommending is Learning to be White, Race, Money, and God in America by Thandika. Okay, I want you guys to understand, this guy is probably getting paid $100,000+, right? If not more, a six-figure salary to teach this type of nonsense at a university. Okay. Now, here's my thing. We all know that if this was the reverse, if somebody made the statement, or if a professor made the statement of, well, black people are born human, and then later on in life, they are bullied into being black or black people, we all know what that would be classified as. Okay, we all know that would be a no-no, that wouldn't be allowed. This academic would be ran off of campus, right? Students would be protesting everywhere. Racism, right? This dude is racist. Okay, that's what they would be saying, right? But when you say it about white people, though, it's cool. It's cool. It's totally fine. Nothing happens. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Okay. Meanwhile, at University of California, Hastings, this is University of California, Berkeley, right? So the same exact area. Okay, probably the same type of students, probably the same political ideology here. Okay. Ilya Shapiro, who is a constitutional scholar, showed up to the Hastings Law School to basically give a lecture as a guest speaker. Okay, now Ilya Shapiro has been in some hot water because he disagreed with Biden selecting a black woman to be the Supreme Court Justice nominee. Okay, instead, he was like, hey, there's this Indian person that I think is actually better, that's more qualified. He should go to the most qualified person. The most qualified person happens to be this Indian person. Okay, now the wokes didn't like that. They didn't like that. They didn't like that so much that they literally cried over what the dude said, okay, and asked for reparations.
And in terms of coming back to this reparation things, because like this is great, but we have to do so much work to catch up for all this stuff that we missed. All I'm saying is I don't know if it's a couple dinners or lunches or something, but that would help us because I can't go home for lunch now because I need to study. I have to make up for this class that I lost. So it's little things like that. It doesn't have to be something that takes a year to figure out. It's like we know our black students or whatever group is hurting, and we're going to give them things today, whether it's snacks, whether it's counseling, whether it's whatever. But a part of that trust is to see an immediate reaction to what we are saying.
So they demanded reparations for this dude simply giving his opinion, saying that, hey, you know what, I don't think that Biden should be selecting Supreme Court justice based off race. Okay. Now, just yesterday, this is the reason why I'm doing this video. I want to highlight this. Just yesterday, again, this guy was speaking at the University of California, Hastings Law School, and he was silenced. He was not allowed to speak by the black law students there because of his comments that he made. Take a look. So I want y'all to understand exactly why they're protesting this guy and not allowing him to speak. It's because he put out a tweet in which he basically said that, hey, I would rather Biden nominate the most qualified candidate, which he believes to be an Indian man, okay, over a lesser black woman, okay? And the wokes interpret that as him saying that black women are lesser, right? Like they're lesser, okay? That they're inferior. That's the way that they interpreted that tweet. So I want you guys to understand, interpreting a tweet saying that black women are lesser gets this type of response, right? Well, the guy can't even speak. He's been protested off of campus. Again, he was already protested at his original place of employment, which was Georgetown, okay? Protested there. They basically was demanding that he be kicked out and canceled from there. Dude goes all the way on the other side of the country to California and still being protested over that tweet, okay? But you have a professor who openly teaches that white people are born human and then they're bullied into whiteness. He's also said more provocative things than that about white people, but I can't go over that, right? I'm not going to really get too deep into that. But I'm just saying, you have somebody that's openly teaching something like that, and you don't hear any protests. Nobody is calling for this man's job. Nobody's calling for him to be fired. Nobody's showing up to his lecture and silencing him, saying that he can't speak, right? Again, I find it fascinating how the left routinely cancels and silences those people who they don't believe with, right? To the point where they're not even letting the guy speak, okay? But the right, on the other hand, right, the side of so-called white supremacists, right? That's what they say. You have multiple professors, you have departments, you have a whole field of academia that is literally dedicated towards basically, in my opinion, I would argue, making society not necessarily like white people too much, right? That is what they're dedicated towards. That's what it seems like to me. And they're not being protested. They're allowed to speak. Okay, they're allowed to express their ideas. Even though I don't agree with their ideas, I think that their ideas are wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say, no, you can't speak. You can't say your ideas, especially in the field of academia. No matter how ridiculous I think what you're teaching is, I think you should be allowed to say it, right? I think you have the right to teach it if you want to teach it. I don't necessarily think it should be taxpayer funded, but hey, if you want to teach it, you can teach it, okay? I'm not going to call for you to be deplatformed because you say something that I don't like. I'm not going to do that, okay? Because I believe in the fundamental right of free speech. But again, if that professor, right, if that professor had said the same things about black people, right, the one that said what he said about white people, these same woke revolutionaries that are protesting Ilya Shapiro, they be protesting that guy. They would be protesting that guy. Which again shows you that they really don't care about racism, except perceived racism towards black people. Because there's no doubt in my mind that a course about studying blackness and framing blackness in the way that that guy framed whiteness would not be allowed. They would not tolerate it. They would not allow that class to be taught. There's no doubt in my mind that class would never even be taught, okay? But they can teach a class about whiteness, right? And say the things they're saying about white people. Again, I find the double standard here to be absolutely amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. But I want people to understand, when it comes to free speech, there's one side of the aisle that is just flat out authoritarians, okay? Where it's like, if we don't agree with you, we're not going to allow you to speak at all, right? And we're going to have a double standard about it too, okay? You can talk all the junk you want in the world about a certain group of people, but if you say something else about a certain other group of people that are seen as marginalized or victimized, nah. We're going to shut you down, right? And then you have another side of the aisle that's like, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily like what you're saying, but hey, I'm not so pissed off about it that I'm going to show up to your classroom and not allow you to speak, right? I'm not that pissed off about it, okay? And that's not to say there's not some elements to that on the right, because there definitely is, but it's not nearly as apparent as what is going on the left, right? The flat out authoritarianism and the control of speech that the left is trying to have on our society, okay? And they are really gung-ho about this when it comes to academia, right? It's incredible. And in my opinion, I think anybody that's incentivized to try to restrict speech in academia would be people on the right. They're the ones that actually incentivized to do that. But you don't see it happening on the right. You don't see the right trying to restrict speech in academia, even if it's speech they don't necessarily agree with. They don't feel that bad about it, that, hey, they're showing up at the professor's doorsteps and not allowing them to speak in their classrooms, just like you just saw, okay? So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.